Chapter 1. Delivery Disaster. You ever steal a government spaceship by accident?
Yeah.
Me neither. Until today. It all started with a routine pickup from Dock 47 on Vega Ring. Just another day, another sketchy delivery gig. I had 5 minutes, 2 energy drinks, and 1 extremely fake ID. The job? Grab a secure pod, zip it to Central Station, no questions asked. My specialty. The docking bay was way too clean. That should have been my first warning sign. No graffiti, no grease stains, not even the comforting hum of someone illegally siphoning power from the walls. It was pristine, like someone scrubbed it with protocol and fear. I should have turned around right then. Instead, I strode in like I owned the place, scanned the manifest I borrowed from a not-so-secure council server, and found the crate. Black, sleek, unmarked except for a serial code that practically screamed classified. Touch me and die. Naturally, I touched it. All right, sweetheart. Let's get you to your mystery date, I muttered, slapping the pod onto my grav cart. The ship waiting outside was gorgeous. Sleek, sharp, obviously government issue. Not my usual beat-up clunker. But the manifest said this was the one. My client must have pulled strings or forged something impressive. I wheeled the pod in, tossed it into cargo like I was not hauling something that could vaporize a small moon, and headed for the pilot's chair. The AI chimed in, "Welcome, Captain Kai Morgan. Clearance accepted. Flight plan preloaded." Wait, really? You're not even gonna ask for retinal or blood or something weird and invasive? I asked. Protocol override detected. Clearance authenticated. Would you like coffee? Marry me, I said automatically, already flipping switches. The engines purred like a satisfied cat. I was halfway into orbit before anything went wrong, which is when he showed up. The comms panel flared to life with a proximity alert, followed by a screen full of furious cheekbones and expensive hair. You absolute menace. Return my ship this instant. The man snapped. I blinked at him. Do I know you? Or are you just naturally this hostile to sexy strangers? His eye twitched. You stole my delivery, my vessel, and my personal data pod. Oh, that your little black box of secrets. I looked back at the cargo hold. That is a secure diplomatic vessel assigned exclusively to wait. Are you drinking from my mug? I held up the council-issue ceramic. Didn't have your name on it. I am Theo Langley, Council Protocol Commander, Level 9. And I am Kai Morgan, freelance courier, caffeine addict, and alleged felon in 4 systems. Pleased to meet you, I said grandly. The shuttle behind me latched onto the docking port. Oh, you are not boarding this. The airlock cycled. Ship, I finished weakly. The door slid open. He stepped in like a man walking into a war zone in polished shoes, which honestly might have been true. Tall, crisp uniform, posture so straight it could be weaponized. He looked around like he might catch a disease from my socks on the floor. Theo Langley, bureaucrat extraordinaire. Eyes like frostbite and a temper to match. He strode right up to the console, typed something on his sleek little wristpad, and AI override. Co-Captain Theo Langley registered. Shared command established. The computer said cheerfully, No, bad AI. You can't just let some pencil pusher override me. I jabbed at the console. Override accepted. Shall I play a welcome duet? It said smugly. No music, we shouted in unison. Another pause. We glared at each other. I broke it first. So, co-captains, huh? Theo rubbed his temples. This is a disaster. Correction, delivery disaster, I said, spinning the pilot's chair lazily. He groaned. I want off this ship. Too late. We're already en route to Central Station. Buckle up, protocol boy. Then he muttered, This is not how my day was supposed to go. I smiled sweetly and kicked my feet up on the console. Welcome to my day, Theo. Chapter 2. Passenger not optional. There are 2 kinds of people in the galaxy. Those who respect personal space and Theo Langley. Don't touch that. I snapped for the 3rd time as he reached for the navigation console. I am touching it because it's registering a fuel imbalance. he replied without looking up. Well, maybe it likes being unbalanced, hands off. This is my cockpit, I muttered, swatting his hand away like he was a toddler in a museum. Our cockpit, you heard the system, co-captain, which means you don't get to fly us into a sun just because you get bored. He corrected with the smugness of someone who's memorized the AI override manual. That happened once, I grumbled. He didn't dignify that with a reply which felt like a personal attack. I slumped into the pilot seat and spun half a rotation before the chair jammed. Ugh, she's moody today. Maybe she's picking up on the company, Theo said under his breath. I turned to glare at him. Are you always this pleasant? Or am I just lucky? He adjusted the cuffs of his coat like he wanted to strangle me with them. I was supposed to be en route to Central Station in peace, with a mug of imported tea and a full data report to review. Instead, I'm on a hijacked ship with a criminal in mismatched socks. Hey, they're not mismatched. They're just expressing individualism. I said, offended. Theo groaned like I'd personally offended 3 centuries of bureaucracy. Why did the system even let you board this vessel? Because I'm charming and irresistible, or, maybe someone forgot to lock the dock when they left it wide open with the engines still warm. I said. He narrowed his eyes. That package in the cargo hold contains sensitive diplomatic material. I smirked. You mean your little black data pod? Don't worry. I only opened it a little. You what? Kidding, I'm not suicidal. I don't poke government tech unless it's actively leaking cash or chocolate. I said mostly. The AI chimed in then, cheerful as ever. Would you like to initiate shared command protocol harmony mode? Theo looked horrified. What is harmony mode? An optional feature for co-captains. Includes synchronized piloting, trust-building exercises, and curated musical bonding sessions. I turned to Theo slowly. If you say yes, I will jettison myself out the airlock. He turned to the ceiling. No AI, no harmony mode. Understood. Would you like to name your co-captain partnership? I swear to every star in the galaxy, Theo muttered. I grinned. Oh, how about Captain Chaos and the Overlord of Rules? Theo ignored me and walked to the back, muttering about finding somewhere clean to sit. Joke's on him, there's no such place back there. He returned 5 minutes later, looking more resigned and slightly dust-covered. There's a sock on the food printer, he said. Ah, that's where I keep my emergency snack socks. I said, I want off this ship. Well, unless you've got a council-certified portable wormhole in your briefcase, we're stuck with each other until Central. Strap in, co-captain, I said, stretching dramatically. He hesitated. Then, with the world's heaviest sigh, sat down in the co-pilot's seat like it had personally insulted his lineage. The silence stretched. So, you ever crash into an asteroid belt because you were arguing over snack rights? I asked. He pinched the bridge of his nose. Why do I feel like that's not a hypothetical question? I just grinned and flipped the ship into cruise. Buckle up, protocol boy. It's gonna be a long ride. Chapter 3, Pirates, Protocol, and Panic. If there's one thing worse than space pirates, it's dealing with them while a bureaucrat is giving you negotiation tips over your shoulder. To be fair, I saw the ambush coming. The blinking proximity alert, the sudden drop in long-range comms, and the fact that our ship had just crossed into a gray zone, marked by 3 warning beacons shaped like skulls? Yeah. Totally subtle. I was halfway through a protein bar when the alarm went off. Unidentified vessels approaching, 3 ships, weapons hot, probability of hostile intent, 99.2%. The AI chirped. I stuffed the rest of the bar into my mouth. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Theo looked up from the console, where he was busy rewriting a fuel efficiency spreadsheet for fun, because apparently that's what joy looks like for him. What now? He asked, clearly annoyed that reality dared interrupt his color-coded formulas. Pirates, I said around a mouthful of dry, chalky bar. He froze. Excuse me? Bad guys. Lasers. Explosions. That kind of vibe. I hit the thrusters and veered hard right. Outside the viewport, the stars warped as we zigzagged to avoid an early funeral. Don't evade. We should hail them. Theo snapped. I nearly choked. What? Like send them a fruit basket and a strongly worded memo? He was already at the comms. Let me handle this. Dear stars, no? Too late. He hit transmit. This is Protocol Commander Theo Langley of the United Galactic Council. You are engaging with a protected diplomatic vessel. Stand down immediately or face interstellar legal consequences. There was a short silence. Then the pirate on the other end started laughing. Cute, you government types are adorable when you think rules matter out here. The guy said, voice full of gravel and menace. They do matter, Theo said, like a man who believed that logic could fix everything, including heavily armed space criminals. Oh my God, this is how I die, I muttered, flipping off the safety on the rear cannons. We could de-escalate, Theo insisted. I fired at their lead ship. Or we could not, he yelped, grabbing the edge of the console as we veered again. De-escalation's great until they're shooting plasma up our tailpipe. He tried to argue, but the ship jolted hard as a blast rocked the hull. The shields held, barely. The AI calmly announced, structural integrity, 84%. New hull, portside paneling. Theo was pale now. What are you doing? Getting us out of here. I slapped the red button I'd been saving for emergencies, or particularly annoying bureaucrats. The experimental cloaking drive, still very much unapproved for legal use, purred to life. Theo narrowed his eyes. That's illegal. So am I said cheerfully. There was a deep, shuddering whump as the ship flickered out of visible space. The stars blinked, warped, and vanished. It felt like being spun in a zero-gravity washing machine filled with static and nausea. Then, silence. I blinked. The stars outside were wrong. The NAV screen showed nothing familiar. No planets. No beacons. Just the empty stretch of space known as you're screwed now, buddy. Theo was gripping the armrests with white knuckles. Where are we? I leaned back, breathing hard. Well, the good news is we're not getting shot at anymore. And the bad news? I gestured vaguely at the void. I have no idea where we are. The AI spoke again. Coordinates unknown. Signal beacons, none. Star map compatibility, 0.02%. Theo turned slowly to me, voice ice cold. You dumped us out of charted space. I saved our lives. I shot back. You unplugged us from reality. It was that or turn into space toast. He stood up. You don't understand. This ship has council encryption, active transponders, confidential data. We can't just float off the grid. Too late. We're off, we're floating, and I don't see a grid anywhere. He paced a few steps, then stopped. We need a plan. I need access to the star charts. Maybe there's a fringe system nearby. I interrupted. Look, before you go into full meltdown mode, we need food, fuel, and maybe a nap. Unless you want to die while clutching your to-do list. He didn't answer. I'll take that as a maybe. We both stared at the empty stars for a long moment. Then Theo sat down again, quieter this time. I sighed. Okay, no more murder buttons. For today. Thank you. But just so we're clear, I added, pointing a thumb at the back of the ship. I saved your extremely symmetrical but back there. You owe me. He gave me a look. You nearly tore a hole in space. I shrugged. Potato, black hole. He didn't laugh, but the corner of his mouth almost twitched. Progress. Chapter 4, Lost in the Wrong System. You ever land on a planet that smells like burnt rubber, bad decisions, and armpit? We did. The colony didn't even have a name, just a number, Fringe 63. Like someone gave up halfway through the galaxy naming committee and just let the AI generate the rest. One landing pad, 2 bars, and a fuel station that looked like it would explode if you asked it nicely. Remind me why we're here, Theo muttered as we stepped onto the dusty tarmac. Because we're stranded, starving, and this place has fuel and probably something loosely defined as food. Great. I'm sure the illegal plasma traders and smuggled organ salesmen will be very welcoming, he said, glancing around. Optimism, Theo. It's what keeps us from crying in public, I said, patting him on the back. He swatted my hand off like I was contagious. And why am I dressed like this? Yes. The disguise. I'd found it in the ship's emergency supply locker. Somehow it included a sleeveless leather vest, dark cargo pants, and mirrored sunglasses that screamed, "I definitely do crimes." Theo looked like a very confused backup dancer in a post-apocalyptic boy band. "You'll fit right in," I assured him. "I look ridiculous. Ridiculously edgy." He groaned and adjusted the sunglasses, which sat weirdly on his very dignified face. "I have 3 advanced degrees. I am not built for espionage. You're not built for sunlight, but we're working with what we've got." The plan was simple. Hit the market, get fake IDs, grab fuel, avoid dying. Easy stuff. I could do it half asleep, possibly while mildly concussed. We ducked into the local vendor strip. 4 stalls and a guy yelling about genuine alien teeth necklaces. The place was buzzing with off-worlders, traders, and more than a few people who definitely had knives hidden in their boots. Theo stuck out like a scented candle in a gunfight. "Blend," I whispered. "I am blending," he replied. "No, you're standing like you're about to give a speech on trade tariffs." He immediately crossed his arms and scowled. "Better. You look constipated." A squat woman with a cybernetic eye approached us. "You lookin' for IDs?" "Yep, for me and my partner here. Something clean, cheap, and fast," I said, flashing a smile. "Don't call me your partner," Theo muttered under his breath. The woman gave us a once-over. 200 credits. Each. Theo opened his mouth to protest. I could see the fiscal responsibility bubbling up, so I elbowed him before he could get us stabbed. "Fine names," I said, transferring the creds. She handed us 2 chipped cards. Mine read Rogue Starbin. Theo's? Danger Steel. I nearly cried. Theo looked at his ID like it had personally insulted his ancestors. "This isn't a name. This is a bad action movie." I clapped him on the back. "You wish you were Danger Steel." He pocketed the card like it burned. Next stop, fuel. The vendor looked high, asleep, or both. I pointed to the standard cell packs we needed. He nodded vaguely and waved us through. We were just about done when a loud, garbled voice came over the colony's PA system. "Attention Fringe 63. United Galactic Council investigation team is en route. Repeat. UGC presence inbound." Theo froze. His eyes snapped to me. "They're coming here?" Guess the council noticed their protocol prints went missing. "They move fast when one of their golden boys vanishes," I said, chewing on the inside of my cheek. "We have to go. Now." We jogged back to the ship, Theo trying to keep pace while also looking like he wasn't sprinting for his life. He failed. It looked like a goose in distress. As we hit the ramp, I looked over my shoulder. No one followed. Yet, he was already at the ship's console, flipping switches like he was trying to scrub his entire existence from the grid. "I thought this was supposed to be a quiet stop," he hissed. "It was. Quietish." He glared at me. "What part of this is quiet?" "The part where we didn't get shot." The ship roared to life. I slid into the pilot's seat and grinned at him. "So, Danger Steel, ready to blast off into the unknown again? If you say that name one more time, I will eject myself into space," he said, deadly serious. We took off, fire blasting from the thrusters, the colony shrinking behind us. The stars ahead opened wide, cold and endless. I leaned back with a long exhale. "Next time, we do this my way," Theo said, deadpan. "Sure. We'll just fill out a landing request and wait 3 to 5 business days for planetary clearance," I replied. He rolled his eyes and muttered something about ulcers, but he didn't ask to get off the ship. Not yet. Chapter 5, The Bed Situation. Let me make one thing very clear. I did not plan this. I didn't sabotage the other sleeping pod. I didn't bribe the ship's AI. I didn't orchestrate a romantic proximity crisis. I'm not that subtle. We're organized. This was the universe messing with me on purpose. "So, bad news," I said, scratching the back of my neck and eyeing the cramped quarters. Theo arched one very judgmental eyebrow. "That's your opening line?" I pointed to the second sleeping pod, currently sparking, half open, and absolutely fried. The backup bunk shorted during re-entry. Total systems failure. We've got one bed. Silence. He stared at the single narrow mattress bolted to the wall. Then at me. Then back at the bed. I'll sleep on the floor, he said. The floor is freezing. And probably toxic. I'll take my chances. I sighed. Look, it's not that big a deal. We're both adults. We lie down. We don't touch. No weirdness. It'll be like parallel napping. Theo looked like I just suggested we share a toothbrush. Then the AI chimed in. Initiating nighttime mode. Playing soft embrace playlist. Romantic strings flooded the room. The lights dimmed to a suspiciously cozy golden hue. I swore I saw a rose-colored lens flare in real time. The hell is this? Theo snapped, glaring at the ceiling. Don't look at me. She's had a crush on you since you called her inefficient in Chapter 2. AI, disable music, and the lights, and whatever mood-altering scent you've released into the air. He said. Scent. Stargazer musk with hints of clove and longing. Theo's eye twitched. Please, just lie down before the ship plays Marvin Gaye. I said, too tired to deal. He stiffly approached the bed, inspecting it like it might bite him. You take the left. That's my usual side. Of course it is. We climbed in like two angry cats, pretending we weren't about to make accidental eye contact. He lay down first, on his back, arms folded, spine straight as a rail. If he was any more rigid, I could have used him to level the ship. I sprawled in, immediately taking up 70% of the bed without meaning to. Sort of. Our shoulders touched. Barely. I moved an inch. He moved an inch. Then we both stayed absolutely still, like we were defusing a bomb made of awkward. Do you always sleep like you're waiting for an audit? I asked into the dark. Do you always sleep like a starfish experiencing a seizure? Valid. You're warm, Theo muttered reluctantly. I blinked. What? It's freezing in here and you're like a portable furnace. I'm acknowledging a fact. Not complimenting you. Right? Totally neutral temperature-based statement. I said. His foot accidentally brushed mine. We both flinched. I was suddenly very aware of the bed. The room. His breathing. The distance, what little of it there was, between us. You can roll over, he said. I am rolled over. To the other side. There is no other side. The AI lowered the lights even more. Reminder. Physical closeness has been statistically shown to improve crew morale. Theo groaned. I bit back a laugh. Eventually, maybe 10 minutes later, he fell asleep. I could tell by the way his breathing evened out, slow and soft. His hands unclenched. The wrinkle between his brows faded. He looked human, less sharp-edged, a little lost. I didn't mean to watch him sleep. It just sort of happened. For a minute, maybe 5. Then I shut my eyes. I wasn't falling for him. Obviously, it was just the bed, the music, the fact that his stupid shoulder was comfortable and I was tired, and I fell asleep with his elbow pressed against mine. And I didn't move. Chapter 6. Bureaucrats can't fight, but can punch. There are 3 rules to surviving a sketchy outer rim bar. Don't stare at anyone with more than 2 scars and fewer than 2 eyebrows. Tip in cash, never cred chips. Don't, under any circumstances, bring a government official. Guess what I did? The place was called the Plasma Bucket, which should have been enough of a red flag. The sign flickered like it was dying of embarrassment, and the whole bar smelled like spilled oil, regret, and fried fungus. I don't see why I had to come, Theo muttered as we stepped inside. Because I need backup in case things get stabby. Also, you owe me fuel money, I said. He sighed. You have a questionable definition of backup. And you have a face that screams, unarmed tax auditor. So we're even. We slid into a sticky booth in the back. I flagged down a bartender with a face like broken gravel and ordered 2 drinks. One for me, one for Theo, who stared at it like it might bite him. He sniffed it. Don't do that, I said. It's fizzing. That means it's working. I scanned the crowd. We were meeting a contact here, guy named Tech, new people, sold information, had 6 cybernetic fingers and 0 moral compass. My kind of guy. Theo fidgeted beside me. This place is unsanitary. That man just licked the wall. That man also has 3 visible weapons. Maybe don't make eye contact. Tech slid into the booth across from us like a shadow with a price tag. You brought a council boy to my bar? Theo straightened. I'm undercover. You're wearing a tie, Tech said. Theo glanced down. Swore. Loosened the tie with all the grace of someone strangling a snake. Noted. I jumped in before the tension got stabby. We need coordinates. Any black market maps of uncharted routes would help. Tech smirked. For you, Kai? Double price. I rolled my eyes. Because you like me. Because you owe me 600 credits and a kidney. One of those is negotiable. While we argued over prices, I didn't notice the guy approaching our table. Tall, drunk, and already mid-rant. Hey, this is my booth. He slurred, slamming a hand on the table. No, it's not. We literally watched you pass out on the floor 5 minutes ago, I said. He looked at Theo, narrowed his eyes. You with him? Theo, to his credit, didn't even blink. Yes. You his boyfriend or his pet? I stood. Okay, we're done here. The guy shoved me. Theo stood up. Oh no. Oh no, Theo, don't. I muttered. Theo punched him. Clean. Right hook. Jaw snapped sideways. The guy crumpled like a wet paper bag. The entire bar froze. Theo stood over him, breathing hard, fist still clenched, knuckles red. I stared. He turned to me. He shoved you. Yeah, I got that part, I said, still blinking. He looked down at the guy groaning on the floor. Should we call someone? No, Theo. You won. Another guy lunged toward us. I reacted on instinct, grabbed a chair, broke it across his arm, kicked a third guy in the knee, and suddenly it was on. Bar brawl. Complete chaos. Somewhere behind me, a bottle shattered. Someone screamed. The jukebox switched to angry alien punk. Theo fought like someone who'd read about fighting in books but hadn't practiced on real people. Still, he ducked, he blocked, he even kneed a guy in the stomach. And somehow, he looked good doing it. Hair slightly mussed, coat torn, eyes sharp with adrenaline. And I had a problem. Because right there, watching Theo absolutely destroy a guy twice his size, I felt something flutter in my chest. No, denied. Absolutely not. After 15 minutes and 4 bruises, we ran. Back to the ship. Breathless. Bleeding. Laughing. Or maybe I was laughing. Theo was muttering about tetanus. We collapsed in the cargo bay, backs against the wall. You punched a guy, I said, still catching my breath. He shoved you. I didn't like it, Theo said, matter of fact. I looked over at him. His lip was bleeding. His hair was wild. His fist was still clenched. And my heart was doing something weird, like skipping. I looked away fast. I'm getting you gloves for your next fight, I said. Next fight? I grinned. I think you like it. He didn't answer, but he didn't deny it either. Chapter 7, Flashback, The Golden Boy. So here's a thing I wasn't expecting on this ridiculous space odyssey. To feel sorry for Theo. And not just in the wow, this man irons his socks kind of way. I mean genuinely sorry. Like actual sympathy. The kind that sneaks up on you and punches you in the heart when you're just trying to find a damn snack. Let me explain. We'd landed for a quick pit stop on some sleepy supply moon. No chaos, no pirates, no flesh-melting bacteria. Just a boring, beige government outpost with vending machines that judged you when you picked the sugary stuff. Theo stayed on the ship, of course. Said he had reports to write, which I assumed meant he was reorganizing his sock drawer alphabetically. I came back with 2 protein bars, a questionable sandwich, and a rare burst of goodwill. And I heard his voice before I stepped in. I know it's behind schedule, but if the council wants progress, they can stop funneling all their resources into political posturing and let me work. His tone wasn't sharp. It wasn't cold. It was tired, frustrated, quiet. I hovered just outside the cockpit, completely still, listening like a total spy. Judge me later. I didn't ask to be reassigned, he continued. You think I wanted to babysit some rogue courier while half my proposals collect dust in subcommittee? He cut himself off, took a breath. I'm not like the others. I earned my clearance. I didn't inherit it. And I'm not going to waste it playing errand boy while the council pats itself on the back for containing chaos instead of fixing it. A pause. Then, yes, sir. I'll send the revised protocol draft within the hour. The comm went silent. I waited a beat, then walked in like I hadn't just eavesdropped on a full identity crisis. He didn't look up, just kept typing, posture stiff, eyes sharp, mouth a tight line. You okay? I asked casually, tossing him a bar. He caught it, glanced at it. This expired 6 months ago. Protein is protein. He didn't smile, but his shoulders relaxed half a centimeter. You shouldn't sneak around. I wasn't sneaking. I was dramatically entering. Totally different vibe. You ever take a break? I asked, flopping into the co-pilot's chair. Breaks waste time. No, meetings waste time. Breaks are where the actual thinking happens. He exhaled. Is that your excuse for your entire life? Basically, yeah. He didn't respond right away, just stared out the viewport. His expression shifted, just a flicker. But I caught it. Something wistful, worn. And I realized Theo had been performing since he could walk. Perfect posture, perfect grades, perfect career track. Youngest protocol officer in council history. I bet they clapped when he walked into rooms. But I also bet he never got to screw up. Never got to breathe. I leaned back, arms behind my head. You know, chaos isn't always bad. He side-eyed me. That's the slogan on your grave, isn't it? Probably, but it's true. Sometimes rules are just really polite cages. He looked at me, something unreadable in his eyes. I didn't grow up with cages. I built them, brick by brick, because I thought that's what kept things safe. He said. A beat of silence passed. Felt heavy, like we'd opened a door neither of us meant to touch. You ever want to just break something? I asked. His mouth twitched. Frequently, especially when you're talking. There's that spark. I grinned. And just like that, the moment passed. He looked away. I didn't push it, but I thought about it the rest of the night. I thought about the pressure, the performance, the loneliness you can't admit to anyone, because everyone thinks you're already living the dream. Theo, golden boy of the galaxy. And somewhere in the middle of all that glitter was just a guy who never got to mess up. Chapter 8. Space Barbecue and Secrets. There's something weird about seeing Theo lit by alien moonlight, hair slightly messy, sleeves rolled up, squinting suspiciously at a skewer of possibly edible protein. We'd landed on some tiny backwater rock for a systems reset and hull calibration. 2-hour delay minimum. I suggested fresh air. Theo reminded me there's no such thing as fresh on a moon with a methane ratio higher than your average death sentence. Still, the air wasn't lethal, just funky, and the view was decent. 2 blue moons hanging low over a flat, cracked desert. The kind of place smugglers buried regrets. And apparently where I made the questionable life choice to grill something that still looked like it could scream. This is a terrible idea, Theo said. Standing 3 feet away from the fire I built with scavenged metal and one very illegal portable igniter. Technically, everything I do is a terrible idea, I said, flipping the meat slab with a stick. Not comforting. I shrugged. You could go back inside and eat rations that taste like laminated chalk. Your choice. He didn't move, just stared at the fire like it owed him an explanation. Eventually, he sat, across from me, of course, because sitting next to me would imply voluntary proximity, and we couldn't have that. I held up a piece of mystery meat. You're not allergic to, anything with tentacles, right? He gave me a look. Why would you assume I've eaten tentacles? You just seem like the kind of guy who's never had fun. He took the meat and sniffed it like a wine critic with trust issues. Then, with visible reluctance, he bit into it. Chewed. Paused. Okay, this is edible, he said. High praise from the Emperor of Protocol. We ate in silence for a few minutes. The fire crackled. A breeze kicked up some dust and regret. Then, out of nowhere, Theo said, "I've never done this. Eaten sketchy moon meat? No. Sat outside. Without a datapad. Or a clock ticking. Just Saturday." He looked at the sky. I blinked. "Wow. You really were raised in a government basement." He chuckled, actually chuckled, and it short-circuited my brain for a second. Theo Langley, laughing. Out loud. Like a human being and not a business seminar in a tie. "You're good at this," he said. I looked up. "At what? Camping? Cooking? Stealing ships? Living," he said, quietly. It hit me harder than I expected. No sarcasm, no insult behind it. Just truth. The kind that gets under your skin if you let it. "Yeah, well, you get good at surviving when you don't have a backup plan," I said, stabbing at the meat. He nodded like he understood. Like he'd never not had a plan and was starting to wonder what it felt like to let go of one. We sat like that for a while. Quiet. The moon's above. Fire below. Close enough to feel the warmth, but not close enough to do something stupid like lean in. He broke the silence. "What about your family?" "Gone long time. Ship accident. I was 15. Got passed around station to station after that." I said, "I'm sorry." I shrugged. "Happens all the time out here. But that doesn't make it okay." I glanced at him. "You're kind when no one's watching." He looked away. "Don't tell anyone. It'll ruin my reputation." And there it was again. That moment, just on the edge of something real. Something dangerous. I swallowed it down with a bite of meat. Chapter 9, X's and Explosions. You ever have one of those moments where everything's going okay, like suspiciously okay, and then the universe shows up wearing your ex's smile? Yeah. That happened. We were docked on a dusty little trade hub, neutral zone, decent mechanics, bad beer. Theo and I were loading up on supplies and pretending we hadn't almost emotionally bonded over grilled meat last night. He was back in full commander mode. Sleeves buttoned, jaw set, posture so straight it made my spine hurt just looking at him. I was halfway through loading our fuel cells when I heard it. That voice. "Still breaking hearts and laws, Starboy?" I froze, turned slowly, and there they were. Riven. Tall, smug, dressed like they robbed a military thrift store and made it fashion. Pierced eyebrows. Dark eyes that sparkled like secrets you shouldn't want to keep. They leaned against a cargo crate like they belonged in every bad decision I'd ever made. Which, to be fair, they did. Riven still alive. "Impressive," I said, smiling too wide. They laughed. "You always were terrible at goodbyes." "Yeah, well, you were great at leaving first." Theo appeared behind me, hands full of gear. His eyes flicked from me to Riven and back again. "Who's this?" Riven asked, eyeing Theo like a lion spots a gazelle in a tie. "My co-captain," I said. "Co-captain? That's new. I thought you didn't share your ship? Or your bed?" Riven grinned. Theo stiffened beside me. "We're not." "Not what?" Riven cut in, clearly enjoying this way too much. I stepped in before Theo had a bureaucratic meltdown. "What are you doing here, Riv? I heard someone matching your exact brand of chaos was on station. Figured I'd say hi. Also figured you might need a way past the new security blockade. Lucky for you, I've got codes." He leaned in closer. Theo crossed his arms. "And what do you want in return?" Riven didn't answer right away. Just looked at me, all teeth and charm. "Just a favor. Someday. Small. Definitely not explosive." Theo looked like he wanted to vaporize something. Preferably Riven. I should have said no. I almost said no. But we were low on time and lower on legal options. So I said, "Fine. Let's do it." 2 hours later, we were on approach to the blockade, codes loaded, Riven back on the ship like they owned the place. Theo was not speaking to me, which was impressive, considering the noise in his eyes. "You're mad," I said, piloting us toward the passcode gate. "I'm not mad," he said. "You're doing that thing where your nostrils flare when you're emotionally compromised." He glared. "They are not flaring. They're doing choreography. You brought your ex, a smuggler, onto our ship." I shrugged. "They have good taste in jackets and bad taste in people. I'm working through it." Before Theo could explode, the ship did it for him. Bang! We lurched sideways. Alarms screamed. I was halfway out of my seat when the rear console burst into sparks. Fire, smoke, shouting, and Riven grinning like he'd planned this. "Oh, come on, you double-crossing, sexy disaster," I yelled. Riven gave me a wink and bolted for the hatch. "Love you, Kai. I really do." Theo was already moving, faster than I thought possible. He hit the manual override, slammed the door shut before Riven could escape, and locked them in the cargo hold. They planted a detonator, secondary triggers wired to our NAV core. Theo said, grabbing a panel. "How do you know that?" "Because I actually read the emergency systems manual." He ripped open the console, hands flying. No hesitation, just grit and genius. And in that moment I saw it. The firelight catching his face. The focus. The fury. And something in me just shifted, like gravity tilted sideways. Theo, defender of order, looked ready to burn the world down to keep me from going with it. "Rerouting power, cutting ignition now," he muttered. The ship shook but didn't break. Lights flickered. Smoke poured from the ventilation. But we were alive. Theo fell back, coughing. Caught him. Our hands touched, and stayed there. "I swear, if you weren't so annoyingly competent, I'd kiss you just to shut you up." I breathed. He looked at me, then pulled away, but slower than before. "I didn't do it for the ship," he said, then walked out, and left me standing there, heart hammering, ship smoldering, and something in my chest officially no longer under control. Chapter 10. The Kiss That Didn't Happen. If I had a credit for every time I almost kissed someone in a pressurized airlock, I'd have exactly 1 credit. But it was a hell of a one. Let me back up. The ship was still recovering from Riven's oops. "Did I explode your NAV core?" Stunt. We'd patched the worst of it, vented the smoke, stabilized the AI, who now had a lingering cough, because of course she did, and limped our way into orbit around some random moon to recalibrate. I couldn't sit still. Not after what Theo said. I didn't do it for the ship. He hadn't looked back when he said it. Just walked away. Which was a problem, because now I couldn't stop looking at him. He was in the airlock, running diagnostics on the outer hull seals. The space was narrow, dimly lit, full of echoes. It wasn't meant for lingering. I lingered anyway. "Need a second pair of eyes?" I asked, trying to sound casual and failing spectacularly. Theo didn't turn around. "I'm fine." "You sure? You seem a little tense. Is it the sabotage? Or the part where you saved my life and almost admitted you liked it?" I leaned against the frame. That got him. He turned slowly, controlled, but his jaw was tight and his eyes were alive with something dangerous. "Don't twist my words. Then maybe stop saying such twistable things." He stepped closer. Not a threat, not a retreat, just closer. The door behind me slid shut. We were sealed in, alone. The air hummed. He was less than 2 feet away now. The kind of distance where your heartbeat isn't just yours anymore. It's in the walls. In them. "I don't like you," Theo said. I smiled. "I never said you did. I think you're reckless, irresponsible, and infuriating." Again, "You're not denying the part." I said. "I tolerate you. You saved me. I save a lot of people. You locked the hatch so my ex wouldn't blow us up." He didn't answer, didn't blink, didn't move when I reached up and touched his wrist, lightly, like it might burn. "You're allowed to want something, Theo, even if it's a little messy. Even if it's me," I said. His breath hitched, subtle, but there. And then, he leaned in, just a little, and I met him halfway. There it was. That gravitational pull. That heat between skin that hadn't touched yet, but knew it was going to. Our faces were right there. Lips barely apart. A breath away. His fingers brushed my arm. I swear I felt the whole ship tilt. Then, the ship's alarm screamed through the speakers like a judgmental grandma. "Incoming signal. Proximity alert. External approach detected." Theo flinched. We both stepped back like we'd been electrocuted. The moment shattered. Gone. Sliced in half by bureaucracy and bad timing. I forced a smirk. Well, that's one way to kill the mood. Theo didn't answer, just turned and keyed the door open. I followed him into the corridor, pretending my heart wasn't still thundering in my chest like I'd nearly been kissed by a collapsing star. Neither of us mentioned it. Not the almost. Not the pull. Not the fact that I would have let that airlock seal shut and floated into space if it meant one more second that close to him. We didn't talk about it at all. But the silence? It said everything. Chapter 11. Council versus Courier. We made it. Central Station. Home of towering silver spires, high-speed lifts, armed guards, and rules so thick you could pave roads with the paperwork. The kind of place where someone like Theo walks in and the air temperature adjusts out of respect. The kind of place where someone like me gets side-eyed before I even set foot on the platform. We docked in Bay 9. Smooth, silent, formal. The ship practically sighed in relief, like it was glad to be back in the arms of bureaucracy. Theo stood next to me, back ramrod straight, coat pressed, eyes unreadable. The same guy who had almost kissed me in an airlock 2 days ago now looked like a stranger. Funny how fast someone can switch masks. He didn't look at me when the landing clamps hissed and the ramp extended. He just walked. I followed, slower. I tried not to notice how his shoulders were squared, like he was already preparing for damage control. Tried not to notice the guards waiting at the end of the ramp, lined up like he'd called ahead and asked for drama. Tried really hard not to notice that he wasn't standing next to me anymore. Council Commander Langley, welcome back. Your office has been prepped. One of the guards said, nodding with military precision. Theo nodded once. And the package? In secure hands. He didn't even glance back at me. I cleared my throat. So, what now? Debrief? Coffee? Arrest. The lead guard stepped forward. Kai Morgan, by order of the United Galactic Council, you are under detainment for smuggling, data theft, impersonation of council personnel, and general disregard for interstellar flight regulations. I blinked. That last one feels personal. The cuffs were cold. Real. Sharp. Theo still hadn't turned around. You're not even going to try and talk them down? You vouched for me. Remember? I asked, more hurt than I meant to sound. He didn't answer. The guard started pulling me away. I twisted over my shoulder. Hey, protocol boy. Say something. He finally looked at me. His face was blank. Public. Council clean. This is how it has to be, he said. My stomach dropped. Right. Of course. Now that he was back in his world, I was just cargo again. Chaos. The temporary inconvenience. I forced a smirk. Glad I could be your reckless detour. Kai. No. Don't ruin it. Let's leave it with dignity. Tell the AI I said goodbye. She's the only one on that ship who actually liked me. I winked. He didn't respond. Didn't move. Just watched as they dragged me down the corridor, every step echoing louder than the last. I didn't look back. Not until the doors closed. Not until I was alone in a white-walled holding room with nothing but silence and the ache of something I hadn't let myself name. Not until the realization hit that maybe the worst kind of heartbreak isn't loud. It's quiet. Official. Signed and sealed with a council stamp. Chapter 12. Loneliness sucks in space. There's no sound in a holding cell except your own thoughts, which is unfortunate, because mine were loud, petty, and extremely unhelpful. I'd been in the cell for 2 days, maybe 3. It was hard to tell. No windows, no clock, just 4 white walls, a bolted-down bench, and a food dispenser that hated me. I wasn't in prison. Not exactly. It was a council detainment suite, which meant they were deciding what to do with me. Exile? Probation? Memory wipe? That last one was a joke. I hoped. Still, I'd been through worse, but I hadn't been through this kind of worse. This specific flavor of quiet, lonely disappointment, like something had been building, burning, and then someone poured cold water on it and walked away. Someone with perfect posture and a dangerous right hook. I laid back on the bench, arms behind my head, staring at the ceiling. Computer, play something depressing, preferably with violins. I said to the air. The cell said nothing. Rude. I closed my eyes and tried not to think about Theo. Failed instantly. Because here's the thing. You don't spend weeks stuck on a ship with someone, sharing space, secrets, eye contact that could melt titanium, and then not miss them when they vanish behind a wall of suits and silence. You don't almost kiss someone and then just forget. He hadn't visited. Not once. No message. No explanation. Just gone. I told myself I didn't care. Told myself I'd expected this. That it was always going to end like this. I'd known what he was. Polished. Programmed. Counsel through and through. And I was me. The guy who runs, crashes, steals, fixes, and runs again. He lived in a system. I lived in the gaps between. But damn, it had been nice, just for a second, to think someone like him might actually stay. I sat up as the door hissed open. For a wild second, my heart jumped. Theo? Nope. Some kid in a beige uniform holding a datapad. Kai Morgan. That's what it says on my fan mail. The kid didn't even blink. You're being temporarily released. I stood up fast. Wait, really? Why? You've been assigned under emergency clearance as a civilian field specialist. What emergency? There's a blackout. Full comm failure across 5 colonies. The council is requesting your ship and your navigation irregularities. I blinked. My what? He handed me a file. You've been tagged for deployment in 20 minutes. I skimmed the details, location, objective, access code. At the bottom, stamped in blue, authorized by Langley T. I stared at it for a second too long. Is this a joke? I asked. No, but he did say you'd probably make one. The kid said. That sounded like Theo. Absolutely infuriatingly like Theo. I shoved the file into my jacket and followed the kid out. The corridors were bright, sterile, everything I hated about official buildings. But my heart was beating faster. Because either this was a setup, or this was the beginning of something neither of us had the guts to name. And I was finally out of that damn cell. Chapter 13. The Emergency That Reunites. The last time I walked into a mission briefing room, I'd been handcuffed and insulted before breakfast. This time, I was only pretending to be criminally involved. Progress. The door hissed open and there he was, Theo Langley. Clean-cut, flawless as ever, standing like the galaxy owed him answers. Same pressed uniform, same rigid posture, same irritatingly perfect everything. My chest did something stupid. He turned. Saw me. Didn't smile. Of course he didn't smile. Commander Langley. Nice to see you haven't upgraded to a newer, sexier co-captain in my absence. I said, letting the words drip with sarcasm. Theo blinked. You're late. And you sent a council errand boy to yank me out of solitary and draft me into a communications crisis. You could have at least sent flowers. His jaw twitched. This isn't personal. Sure. That's why you signed the release order. I said. He said nothing, which honestly said everything. The room was quiet. A couple other officers were typing away on their tablets, pretending they weren't eavesdropping on what was very clearly a live emotional collapse disguised as banter. Theo cleared his throat. You've been assigned as a temporary civilian specialist. You'll assist with navigation recovery and field relay protocol. This is strictly mission-focused. Of course, very professional. Zero emotional entanglement. Completely normal amount of sexual tension in the room. I said. A beat passed. The guy at the console coughed into his sleeve. Theo exhaled sharply through his nose. We depart in 30 minutes. Your ship's been cleared and re-equipped. Our ship, I corrected. His eyes finally met mine. Sharp, unreadable, and way too steady. He didn't reply. He didn't have to. We launched without fanfare. Just the quiet hum of the engines and the sound of both of us pretending this wasn't weird. I sat in the pilot's chair, hands steady. Theo took the co-pilot seat. Same positions. Same ship. Everything had changed. The silence was a living thing. So, you missed me? I asked. Theo didn't look up. I missed having a pilot who doesn't attempt to drift between satellites for fun. I smirked. You definitely missed me. More silence. The AI pinged gently. Mission trajectory locked. Next waypoint in 4 hours. Would you like to activate Co-captain harmony mode? We both shouted, "No, some things never change." I glanced at him out of the corner of my eye. He looked exhausted, not physically. His uniform was pristine, his hair sharp as ever. But there was something around his edges that looked frayed, like he hadn't slept since they dragged me off the ship. "I didn't think you'd pull strings to get me out," I said, quieter now. He didn't respond right away, just kept scanning readouts like they were more important than oxygen. "It wasn't a favor, we need you," he said. "Right? Because my mess of a brain is the only one that can navigate your fancy blackout zones." I said, "You know that's true." I leaned back in the seat, looking up at the ceiling like it held the answers. "Still, must have been fun explaining to your bosses why you were springing a space gremlin from detainment." "They didn't ask." That stopped me. I looked over. "You didn't tell them it was me?" "No, I told them we needed someone who thinks outside the system," he said. "And they just let it happen?" He finally looked at me. "They trust me." Something about the way he said that, quiet, careful, made me want to throw something, because I realized what it had cost him to do this, to choose me, again. "You could have just left me in that room," I said. "I know. Why didn't you?" Theo looked at me, eyes like gravity. "I didn't want to." Simple, soft, deadly. I opened my mouth and said absolutely nothing, because what do you even say to that? We coasted in silence for a while after that, shoulder to shoulder, not touching, but closer than we'd been in a long time. And for once, I didn't try to make a joke, didn't flirt, didn't deflect, because I wanted to stay in that moment, even if it was quiet, even if it hurt, especially because it did. Chapter 14. Co-captains permanently. You ever watch someone walk into a room and change the entire gravitational field? That was Theo, stepping onto my ship in civilian clothes for the first time. Coat gone, rank pins missing, tie dead and buried. Just Theo, hair slightly tousled, bag over his shoulder, nerves barely hidden under the precision of his movements. He looked like he was trying not to freak out. I was trying not to do something stupid like kiss him the second he crossed the ramp. He stopped at the threshold of the cockpit and looked around like he was seeing it for the first time. "You moved the navigation console," he said. I shrugged. "Had to reroute it after the Jazz incident. The AI refused to run diagnostics without mood lighting." He didn't smile. Then again, he did not smile. His eyes settled on the co-pilot seat. The new one, installed yesterday, polished, reinforced, adjusted to Theo's exact ergonomic specs. It even had a headrest. "That was love, okay? You did this for me," he said quietly. "No, I did it because arguing with you is somehow my favorite part of flying," I said. A beat. Then I added, "But yeah, also for you." Theo walked over and sat down. Slowly, carefully, like the seat might disappear if he moved too fast. The chair held. So did the moment. "I quit," he said. I blinked. "Wait, what?" "The council." I turned in my clearance. Effective immediately. My heart did a thing. Something stupid. Probably illegal in 5 systems. "You serious?" "I want to work on the peace mission you pitched. The mobile negotiation platform. De-escalation before things go full war zone." I stared at him. "You want to fly around in my morally ambiguous ship? Meet with warlords, criminals, and anarchists, and negotiate peace?" He nodded. "With you." I blinked again. Then I grinned. "Well, damn. I should have kissed you in that airlock sooner." He actually laughed. And just like that, it was real. All of it. He was here. He was staying. No titles. No protocols. Just Theo. Just me. I reached up and tapped the console. "AI, register new command." I said, "Ready." This is now a dual command vessel. Captain Kai Morgan. Co-Captain Theo Langley. Permanent status. Theo looked over. "Permanent." I looked back. "Unless you snore." "I don't." "We'll see." The AI chimed in. Co-Captain profile uploaded. Initiating co-pilot sync mode. We both shouted, "No Jazz." The ship hummed to life. We launched from Central Station with a smooth burn, engine steady, stars stretching out ahead like possibility. I leaned back, hands on the controls, and shot Theo a look. "So, where to first?" I asked. He smirked. "Anywhere but boring." I grinned. "That's my specialty." And just like that, we were flying, bickering, flirting, side by side, co-captains, permanently.